Welcome back to our live coverage of the historic Rally Festival at Weston Park, where, as you can see, I'm not in my normal special stage attire. I squeezed back into my race suit. I can't remember when I last wore it. Just about still fits. And I've climbed in that Metro 6R4 of Dan Elmore's. I tell you what, we've enjoyed the action on the stage, and the drivers really have been driving these cars properly, haven't they? But you don't realise how fast and how narrow these stages are until you're in one of these cars. That 6R4 is quite a beast on this Weston Park stage. So you'll be able to find out what we got up to, and we'll give you a bit of a flavour of what it's like to do one of these iconic RAC Rally stately home stages when we do the TV show and indeed the DVD following the historic Rally Festival. But a lot of fun. Big thank you to Dan, and thank you to Warner Lewis and his team for creating that special moment earlier on the live stream, if you saw that as well. Much appreciated. I appreciate the message as well. And Amanda Barron handed me a birthday card at the start line of that stage in the Metro, so I had to find somewhere to stick a birthday card very quickly inside a Group B rally car. So here we are, stage 9. I had to just double check that because I've had to hot foot it down here. Thanks to Martin Young, by the way, for ferrying myself and Louise Aitken Walker around this weekend. He had to get me literally across country through the trees to be out here on stage 9. We've got some gravel for our crews to contend with. And I know, talking to Dan just now, he and a number of the others are a little bit nervous about the gravel because they're on tarmac tyres, and there's a good chunk of the stage, it's a mile or so, on this gravel, and it's very slippery. Producer Wayne just drove the special stage van through and locked it up, didn't you, coming down the hill, and that was going slowly. So it's going to be an interesting stage for our crews, and it's just started raining as well, and we saw how slippery it was earlier on the stage. We hope you've been enjoying the action this weekend, but more than that, we hope you've enjoyed seeing some absolutely brilliant, wonderful rally cars. I want to know, whether you're watching on YouTube or on Facebook, I want to know what your favourite car has been so far this weekend, either for style points or just because you haven't seen one competing on a stage before or participating on a stage. Be careful not to use that C word on this live coverage, because it's not a competitive event, it is a demonstration. But as you can see, the drivers are very much giving us a glimpse into what this stage would have looked like 30 years ago when it was last used on the RAC Rally. So I want to know, what was your favourite car this weekend? And if you haven't decided yet, what's your shortlist? Comment under the stream. We'd love to know what your favourite car was so far, and perhaps your favourite driver as well. Who's been really impressing you on the stages that we've brought to you live here on Special Stage? Comment under the streams. We will get to some of your comments later on. So we're going to have the remaining cars, and we have dropped a few, haven't we? Because those cars have been driven hard this weekend. I mean, I've just had a wander back through the service area, wandering to this this next stage, sorry, and there are some fairly wounded looking rally cars out there, just as there would have been back in the day. You saw the Mitsubishi Evo 3 with its rear bumper hanging off. One of the Celica GT4s has got a bit of a rearranged rear end. We just seen in the queue as we drove through to get to this location. So, you know, these cars are being properly used. It reminds me of watching them in the 90s when they'd go through the water splash with bits of bodywork flapping and trailing and flying off. I have got to say, I've been far more impressed than I thought I would be. I knew I'd like this event. This is right up my street, but there's something special about this. It's got a real festival feel, and it feels like it's... I mean, Louise said off camera earlier, as we were driving back, she went, this is going to be big. And I agree. Keep your eye on the Historic Rally Festival here at Weston Park, because it is going to be big. I'm going to take shelter because the rain's coming down hard once again, and I'm going to be really soggy in this race suit by the end of the day. I've got a feeling about that. Soggy and sweaty. And we have got our first car into this gravel section of stage now, I believe. So we should be seeing Will Nichols and Nick Broom through. 2007 BTRDA Gold Star champion Nichols had that famous roll down the hill on the Penmacno stage in 2009, didn't he? These Rally 2 Fiestas that you're about to see through, just under 300 brake horsepower from a 1.6 litre turbo engine. They weigh just over 1,200 kilograms. Permanent four-wheel drive, 5-speed sequential gearbox. Quite old-fashioned format, really, when you think about it, isn't it? It's It's a very accessible form of world rally competition. And I say accessible loosely because you or I, most of us will struggle to afford one of these glorious WRC spec Rally 2 cars, but certainly more accessible than the Rally 1 format, and that's why this is M Sport's most successful model. More than 250 R5 Fiestas in competition. And if you're wondering how they differ from the Rally 1 cars, well, the Rally 1 cars are space-framed monster machines like the Group B cars that we've seen out on the stages this weekend. 380 horsepower to begin with, and then 500 horsepower with the hybrid boost. They can have repeated bursts of, I think it's about 3 seconds, is it? It's 100 kilowatt electric power that comes from that hybrid motor in bursts. But really, they only produce, the Rally 1 cars, about 60 to 65% of the power of the fastest Group B cars. I think I've got my maths right there. I'm sure one of you will remind me if I'm slightly out on that, and I'm sure you will equally forgive me. Remember, I'd like to know what your favourite cars and favourite drivers have been at the Historic Rally Festival so far this weekend. Going to go to the special stage Facebook page first, and we'll have a look and see what you guys think on there. Gabriel O'Connell, the Audi Quattro and the Metro 6R4, both awesome, having been inside that Autoplus Metro 6R4 with Dan Elmore. I would agree that is a fantastic car. Stig Blomqvist in the A2 Group B Audi Quattro is quite something, though, isn't it? As you see the first of the safety cars come through, we will have that Rally 2 Fiesta up next. Julie Harris says she's really enjoyed seeing Craig Pendry through. Yeah, he's been pushing on, hasn't he? Gabriel O'Connell also liking the TR8s. Alistair Knox, what time does this stage start? Well, it should have started already, so any time. You've seen the safety car through. Steam's up, enjoying the coverage this weekend. Hello to Mark Sands, Des Townley, who are joining us. How good was it to have Louise Aitken-Walker back on our live coverage as well earlier on through Stage 7? That was quite special, wasn't it? So onto the YouTube comments. Phil Salzberger is watching in Tasmania. Hello to you. Well dressed. Hard to see this level of tailoring nowadays. Don't know about tailoring. I can only just about squeeze in. Matthew Atkinson enjoying the stream. His dad is entered. Not sure of a specific number, but he's running the gold VW GTI. What are we talking about?
I think it's golf.
Ah, golf. GTI, yeah. Tom Irving really likes David Bonning's Repsol Ford Escort WRC. Leslie Wood likes the 205 T16. Yeah, I know what you mean. Incredible car. Great to see it out. Lois likes the Ford RS 200. Nigel Mummery. Matthew Atkinson says Metro 6R4 all day, every day. Ridiculous machine, the way it looks, the way it sounds. It's hard to drive, it's too fast to race. Yeah, some real theatre, isn't it? Outside and inside that car. P.O. Koenig says hello from Sweden. So you can hear the sirens on the stage. We're almost ready to go. We're not far off having the first car through this first stage with the gravel in. So bear with us. It's not a competitive event, and that does mean that, you know, when the delays happen, it doesn't quite have the same urgency about it, which is fine. That's one of the things that the competitors have loved about this weekend, is that they can enjoy everything that a rally brings without that stress of competition. And for a lot of these guys who do compete, it's the end of their season or nearing the end. And it's a really nice way to round off the season. I've heard a few people say that this weekend. But yeah, Louise Aitken-Walker had some cracking stories earlier, and I've just been speaking to Hugh Chambers as well, Chief Executive Officer of Motorsport UK, who have been so instrumental, along with Warner Lewis and his team, in putting this event together, allowing it to run in the way that it is. Because although it's a demonstration event, it's and I know most of you will know what I mean when I say this, it's run in quite an authentic fashion. And we're seeing these cars in their natural habitat. We're seeing Group B rally cars on a stage that they did 40 years ago. And we're seeing them driven hard, and we're seeing crowds of spectators getting into the spirit of things, ever so British with their brollies, as you can see. And we're seeing a very authentic take on a rally demonstration. So thank you to Hugh Chambers, who is a big fan. He's in with Tim Ashton in that Fanaloni Lancia Fulvia this weekend. Well, he's here today, wasn't he yesterday? He's jumped in that Lancia today and is absolutely loving the Historic Rally Festival so far. And there are plans to include some closed roads in this event in future years, so keep your eye on this. It is going to be big. We're certainly very excited about it, and we're excited to be here and be part of it. It has surpassed our expectations in just about every way. And you know, one day we'll be looking back on these events and we'll be realizing how lucky we were to be able to spend time with these cars and with these star drivers. And let's not wait too long to pinch ourselves and enjoy that. Let's enjoy it while it's here. Hey? We do that too often. Just back to your comments. Adam Croughton is the man who can in the old school rally car. Malcolm Newton enjoying that. Kev Davies says that's a big molehill. It is. It reminds me of the dinosaur poop out of Jurassic Park when the Triceratops does the big pile of dung. And that's a really strange thing to say. If anyone's just tuned in right now, that's taken a turn, hasn't it? We're at stage 9 and we've all gone mad here at the Historic Rally Festival. Mr. Burns says, shout out to Cannocken District Car Club who are marshalling today. Do you know what? The marshals are absolutely fabulous. Just gone through the stage with Dan Elmore. First of all, it took about 4 people to help me put my hands device on. It's been a while since I've done that. Everyone was very patient. Lots of smiles and waves. And then I've had to cut through the start and go cross-country with Martin Young to get to this location. And again, marshals were fabulous. Very informative and very patient with us. So thank you to everybody who's come out marshalling and enjoyed this weekend with us. We all know now that without marshals there would be no rallying. Rebecca Shepherd says she's loving watching her dad and brother in the Golf GTI, the Mark 1 Golf. That's the tribute to the VW Motorsport Monte Carlo entry. Derek Wilkins, Nick Wilkins alongside in that white and red Golf. One of 2 Golfs out here today. Matthew Atkinson's dad is also running a Golf. That's Robert Jones, I believe, is it? Nick Archer in the Mark II GTI, car 32. I can hear a Rally 2 Fiesta. This is stage 9 of the Historic Rally Festival at Weston Park, and the stage starts on gravel. It'll be interesting in this weather and on tarmac tyres. There's a mile or so of gravel, and then the cars thread their way through this narrow, winding, iconic piece of stately home rally stage up to the water splash where we were earlier, but they're going in a different direction through that water splash. Here comes Will Nichols. Nick Broom, the Island Car Centre Rally 2 Fiesta. Nicely done. Will is no stranger to gravel, having been VTRDA Rally Champion in 2007, but doing a gravel rally stage in a car of that power with tarmac tyres on must be interesting, shall we say. Car 1, a car which has done many a historic rally in its time. It's a replica of the big Healy Works cars. but Ian Thomas and Gerald Wilby in the Austin Healey 3000 has done the Monte Carlo. The suspension working hard on this fairly rough section of gravel at the start of this 9th stage of the day. It just looks like it could handle anything, that, doesn't it? You can hear the bark of those triple SU carbs. Fascinating story with the Healeys. Donald Healey, more interested in racing, and ordered 4 Milli Miglia race cars to be built when they launched the car, but said to the guys at Abingdon, do you know what, the competition department, you can have the rally part, we're not really interested. And Paddy Hopkirk, Pat Moss, Rano Altonen, Timo Mäkinen were among the names, making sure that everybody else was interested, even if Donald Healey himself wasn't. Dan Gibson in the cracking Clan Crusader, and cracking is probably the word, bouncing along on this gravel section of stage. You have to laugh, don't you? I've been talking about Clan Crusaders and finding all manner of ways to shoehorn them into the conversational special stage over the last couple of years, and there we are with a real lifeline on the stream in front of us. And great to see Dan out and enjoying that Clan. It will be a handful on this gravel section of the stage, and there'll be more than a bit of bottoming out, I'm sure. Rafe Samby, Sarwit Samby in the P800S Volvos, originally built by Jensen in the bodywork plant here in the UK, but Jensen messed the order up, shall we say, and after just 6,000 cars, production moved to Volvo's plant in Gothenburg. And there's Miles Chamberlain, part of the Rally Nuts rally team. The Mark II Cortina, synonymous with rallying. Roger Clark, Jim Porter came first on the 67 Scottish Rally, and famously Autocar nicknamed the Cortina Mark II the Banana after he came down, Roger Clark, that is, pretty hard, and bent the car in the middle, and with its green Lotus stripe, it was easy to see that the car had been bent. Luckily, Miles Chamberlain's car is not yet, anyway, and will likely remain that way on this stately home stage, or so we hope. There's Bob Beals, Mike Leffley alongside, normally rallies that yellow and black Beetle we've mentioned a few times this weekend. First rally was the 1991 RAC Autoglass Historic Rally. The gearbox failure in the Beetle. But he's done the Historic Rally Festival in that 1500S Volkswagen notchback before now. We are going to see a few of our crews taking things just a bit steadier than they perhaps have on recent stages. On this gravel section, there's Len Milner in the Team Castrol liveried Mark II Escort, swapping his Audi Quattro Group B for the Escort for this weekend's Historic Rally Festival. And there's Ian and Caroline Hill in the Opel Manta. Recently thrown their hat in the ring, having had that car as a hill climb and a show car. I decided to do these rally demonstrations. Some of our crews on this weekend's entry do competitive rallies, and some do this. They drive their rally cars hard, and they drive them in environments for which those rally cars were built, but they do it to demonstrate the sport to rally fans and to have a bit of fun along the way. And I know that you guys have been loving the showboating going on this weekend. The bark then is Dave Harris in that Mark II Escort, who is, with Paul Sanford alongside, been throwing that thing around today at absolute style points coming into the water splash. If you haven't seen stage 7, do watch the footage back when we're finished, because he really threw that Escort sideways through there. I'm pretty sure that the driver got a face full of water through that side slider window. I got a little bit wet in the Metro 6R4 through there. Spent the weekend basically wet and soggy, but that's okay. It's in the name of rallying. There's plenty of time to dry out and reflect on what we've done later on. Trevor Hancock, James Hancock in the TR7 V8 replica of the Works cars. His dad used to work on the Abingdon Works rally project along with Mike Broad, who of course famously co-drove in those cars and is joining the commentary team today. I'm not sure we'll get a chance to catch up with Mike on the live broadcast, but if we do get a chance, we'll of course bring you some of his stories. Later on, one of the most wonderful rally storytellers. Very lucky he's still so involved in the sport, president of BTRDA, involved in just about everything. Terry Watkins, Jason Pendry, throwing that little Mark 1 Mexico around on this gravel section. 3 miles long this stage, so the first mile or so is gravel. The crews haven't done this gravel yet. And as you can see, we're in for a treat, aren't we, when we get our Group B and Group A rally cars through. Stuart Hicks, Rob Sykes in the Motorcraft Mark II RS 2000. No, I'm saying these guys are giving us a treat as it stands. But I am looking forward to seeing Stig Blomqvist through this gravel section of stage. A lot of effort has gone in to making this event really authentic by Warner Lewis and his team, and I think they've done a fabulous job. I hope you'll agree with me. Matthew Atkinson asking people who their rallying heroes are. Colin McRae for him. Lucky to see him in his Mark II at the Leyland Test Track. That red Mark II, of course. There is our Motorsport UK Chief Executive, Hugh Chambers, alongside Tim Ashton in the fabulous and very, very rare and special Fanaloni Lancia Fulvia. Actually previously owned by politician and racing driver Baron Beaverbrook, that car. A man who started his rallying in 1998 on the Tour of Cornwall in a Honda Civic and came 5th in class, not bad for his first outing as Gary G. Knocking on 65 now and still enjoying his rallying in that TR7 V8, and there he is, the 1996 British Rally Champion. Gwyndaf Evans in a Mark II Escort did his second ever rally in 1984 in a Mark II, and it took him until 2009 on the Bulldog to get back in a Mark II, but here he is at the historic Rally Festival demonstrating very nicely what a Mark II Escort does so well. Sideways on gravel on the 9th stage of the day. Chatting to Stuart Horsfall earlier, he said it's a bit of a pinch yourself moment jumping in a car with Gwyndaf Evans, I bet. And Gwyndaf has been enjoying that car. The car was used at Ford Motorsport in Boreham in the late 90s as a test car, actually. So it is a car with a bit of history, just like the driver. Aladana and Lucy Gutteridge have been putting that road rally spec Mark II Escort through its paces, haven't they, this weekend? And doing so in style. You can't miss it, and nor would you want to. We've got our 1984 World Rally Champion Stig Blomqvist back in an A2 Rally Quattro. If you're just tuning in, special stage, this is stage 9 of the historic Rally Festival. We are having a rally-themed ball, and so are the spectators. The umbrellas are up. It's very typically British RAC rally weather. It's almost as if the rally gods here at Weston Park knew. There's Craig Pendry, Fred Harris, again, earning some really big star points this weekend in the car that used to be driven by Di Llewellyn. And there's a car that brings back a fair few memories, particularly when it is driven with its rear three-quarter view sideways, perpendicular to the crowd. That is a replica made in loving memory of the late, great Russell Brooks, a legend of our sport. Kevin Knight, Sam Weller bringing it out to demonstrate to us today that Andrews Heat for Hire car, like the one that Louise Aitken-Walker was telling us she drove on the Rally Legends event a couple of years ago. And she absolutely loved it as well. Dave Owen says his rally hero is Tony Pond. Louise was sharing some stories of Tony actually earlier. She said he was a real old school gentleman, a real character. So yeah, it's one person I wish I could have met, Tony Pond. I think I did meet him when I was a baby at the RAC, along with Henry Toyvin and Roger Clark, and I wish I could remember that moment. My dad likes to tell me about it. Here's the second of our somethings. Stuart Clawley in the car that Russell Brooks himself had a good old bat around the stages at Race Retro in 2015. What's been quite telling about this historic rally festival is that both competitors and participants who are well used to doing these types of demonstration events in Europe, where this, by the way, this format is massive. People like Neil Brighton in the Renault 5 Maxi Turbo, for example. have been waxing lyrical about how great this is and how much good it will do for British rallying. And you know what? If this is what it takes to get the crowds back out and enjoying rallying and understanding what it's all about, then let's do more of it. Arnaud Tortal, Chris Baines over from France in the Mark 1 Fiesta XR2 and enjoying themselves on these typically British stately home stages. We were known for it, weren't we, back in the glory days of the WRC when we had Lombard RSC Rally Network, Q Rally, Brett Britton, all the rest of it, Mike Barrett, Megan Barrett in the other Sunbeam Lotus in the Works colour scheme built by an ex-rally art engineer, Dave Dyer, and extensively rallied in Europe, that car. And there's Derek Wilkins, Nick Wilkins through in their Monte Carlo tribute liveried Mark 1 Golf GTI. Just adding to the variety on this weekend's Historic Rally Festival. Actually, I had a question about that car. And Rebecca Shepherd, you might be able to answer me this. Derek and Nick did the Rally Festival Transmira in the GTM Coupe. Was that the Cars and Car Conversions GTM Coupe? Rebecca Shepherd. I'm pleased you're on this live stream chatting away on YouTube because I might be able to get an answer to that question. Here's John Rutter and Lorraine Nixon, who are understandably taking things steady through this rough gravel section of the stage in that Hawk Lancia Stratos replica with its 3-litre Alfa Romeo Busso engine. Shades of 70s Stratos magic, followed by the Works Rover Mini Cooper. Done many WRC events, as has that ex-David Sutton Rothmans Escort. The livery that Louise Aitken Walker would pick if she were to build a Mark II Escort, she told me earlier, and that's in its Malcolm Wilson livery from 1981, of course, the year that Ari Vatanen and Dave Richards, president of Motorsport UK, won the World Championship. Phil Salzberg is asking, can you pass a slower car in a non-competitive demo? As you see, the little 106 of the Sherratts heading through the stage, a car that's very competitive on particularly single venue circuit rallies, and is out here demoing the what the 90s and early 2000s had to offer for one make series rallying, clubman rallying following that. Phil Salzberg, you shouldn't really be passing cars on a competitive demo as Russ and Wendy Mason. I knew they'd go nice and sideways there. Let you enjoy that moment. No, there's no need to pass a car unless the car's got a problem up ahead. There's no need to get past. And in fact, on the driver's briefing this morning, which of course I was part of, I was climbing in that 6R4, the participants were just reminded really that they needed to just slow things down a little bit. You're meant to be driving at 80% on a demo. 80% of what is the question, isn't it? Of course, 100%, but 80% of who's 100%? But they were told, look, it is a demonstration, let's get everyone through it. Let's have plenty of sideways and choke over the crowds. But let's also not go overtaking on the stage. There's just no need. So that hopefully answers your question, Phil Salzberger. Rebecca Shepherd confirming that yes, it was the Cars and Car Conversions GTM Coupe that Derek and Nick Wilkins drove. Have they still got the car, Rebecca? Because that's a car I'm really interested in, actually. This little Talbot Samba has been a real star of the show this weekend, hasn't it? Started as a 950cc barn find. Took 3 years to build, and it is beautiful and very faithful to the spec that they would have run in. And interesting to see that out on the stage. Matthew Atkinson's dad then in his Golf GTI. Remarkably, that's Robert Jones, Nick Archer, remarkably Volkswagen this weekend quite loudly represented. The two Golf GTIs and the 1500S notchback, which old man Polly Toivonen started his rallying in Finland. Dad of Henry and Harry Toivonen, of course. And it's really in recent years that we all think of Volkswagens as coming on strong in rallying, but they do have a rich rally heritage, and it's on display in quite fine fashion here at Weston Park this weekend for the historic Rally Festival, isn't it? The tours have been really pushing that little Corsa Super 1600 through these stages. In the night stages last night, they were on fire, literally fire, shooting from the exhaust. And it was quite a sight to behold. Bashing through the gears in that little clicky box in there. Elliot Sharp, Liam Carfrey there in the MGZR. It's a more formidable rally car than you might expect in that. It starts as a road rally / target rally spec car. It's now a full stage car, but it's got a 1600cc engine, forged pistons and rods, Piper cams, and it has a Quave straight to the gearbox, so it's a proper deal. The 90s are back. Phil and Lucy Owen popping and banging their way, sounding like a rifle race through the trees in that 555 Group A-esque Subaru Impreza with its slightly remodelled front wing. Like many others this weekend, they've been trying. And they have a little bit of battle scar to show for it as well. Derek Belbin in that Castrol Mark II Escort, which is featured so often on our special stage coverage. Nice to see him out here demoing how a Mark II should be driven on a gravel stage before this stately home stage takes over at the Water Splash. Onwards here at Weston Park. And here's a man who has really been throwing that car around. Jason and Susanna Lepley have really enjoyed their weekend. Bit of a treat for mum and dad, having supported sons James, and now I'm pleased to say George again, back out rallying in his Galant VR4 on the rally stages. So Dad's rallying has taken a bit of a back seat at the moment. He says he's got a few interesting cars, a couple of ex-World Rally cars that we might just see back out at some point once the boys have flown the nest, he says. We will see. It'd be nice to see them out, that is for sure. There's a replica of the Colin McRae Swedish car from 1989. Ross Clements driving that Ford Sierra XR4 before, the 2.9 litre V6 with its side exit exhaust bellowing through the trees here at Weston Park. Interestingly, it's my birthday today. It's also Calais Rovenpera's birthday, so happy birthday to Calais. He's a bit younger than me. Andy Waldridge has been enjoying himself as well. Look at that, Alistair McRae recce car from the WRC that's been turned into a full stage car replica of the Formula 2 Hyundai, and he's done a few rallies in it as well. Built it as a demo car, and it kind of took over from there. I know Dan Elmore did the same thing. He had some coaching from Ian Duncan, his rally driver coach turned co-driver, and then decided, well, do you know what, I've got to go rallying now. I've had some coaching. That Escort there, the Bastos car, has been a wonderful sight all weekend, and I don't know if you could see on the coverage there, you might have to watch it back now, I mentioned it, but as John Peck and Jonathan Barrett were going through the gears, you can see the mist and the dust being kicked up by the power of the anti-lag system backfiring out of the exhaust, and we saw that on the start line yesterday at stage one. They're powerful, these 90s Group A anti-lag systems, mark my words, as is that Millington-engined BMW E30 M3 of Steve Harkness. Andrew Stokes inside that car, swapping from driver to co-driver seat. Matthew Atkinson says, did Richard Burns drive for Subaru also? Well, yes, he also won the World Championship with Subaru in 2001, but that's not one we'll forget easily, is it? I love seeing, well, you know I love seeing Escort Cosworths out, but it's great to see Sierra Cosworths out on the stage as well, isn't it? The Historic Rally Festival, if you're like me, a rally car nerd, it's really delivered, hasn't it? That's Stuart Dealey, Andrew Dobson in the ST165 Celica, formerly Stuart. You may have seen on rallies in his silver Lotus Europa. Looked more like a GT car, didn't it, than a rally car. That's the Bastos edition with a slightly remodeled rear end, caught gate post on an earlier stage in that Celica. Very much now looking like a car that's just done a stately home stage in the 90s or 80s as it was. It was a TTE shell built in 1987. Graham Capper and Chris White bringing it out to play. That legacy's been entertaining, hasn't it, all weekend? With the glorious 555 Impreza of Phil and Lucy Owen, and then there Bob Dennis and Caroline Chapman in the 555 Legacy is quite a treat. And there's a car that is amazing to see out. John Lay, Gareth Lay, bringing out the 2002 Production World Rally Championship and Asia Pacific Championship winning Proton Pert, basically a Mitsubishi Evo 6. It's 100% original. It finished 10th overall on the Safari round of the WRC in 2002, and that is exactly how it finished the rally. You've got to admit, that is pretty cool. How often do you see a Safari spec rally car in action on a UK rally stage, especially one that used to feature in the WRC itself? And there's the rally replay. Lancia Delta. Howard Davies, who's on the commentary team this weekend, that is his favourite car here this weekend. Rob Whitehouse coming out for a play in that car. And the last competitive event he did, I believe, was in that car. It was the 2010 Rally Barbados, and he was first in class, 39th on a pretty formidable leaderboard in those days. Yvonne Mehta, wife of Sheikha Mehta, the Kenyan WRC legend. Sadly no longer with us, but Yvonne is, and she's still loving her rallying. 81 next month, and she's inside that Lancia Delta. Keeping Sheikha's legacy alive as well at the same time, which is lovely, isn't it? Really nice story. Lancia Fulvia, Group 4, followed by an ex-Johnny Milner Shell Helix Escort Cosworth. Sights and spectacle that only really the Historic Rally Festival will be able to bring you this weekend. Steve Chamberlain and Tom Hutchins still with that rear spoiler, waggling around on the boot-in. Anti-lag system turned up to max. Another rifle through the trees here on this first section of gravel stage at Weston Park before they go into that water splash where they had so much fun earlier. I spoke to Steve after his sideways moment where he got up on the grass and he said, well, he said, this was a quote, by the way, once I got it on the grass, I thought, well, it'll do what it'll do, so I may as well crack on. And crack on he did. Tom Hutchins, my pal, in that co-driver's seat, did his first co-driving alongside me, actually. And there is the gaffer again, Warner Lewis. It's been a pleasure to be part of Warner Lewis's vision, a vision which you heard from him earlier isn't yet complete. There's still a lot we haven't seen, a lot still to do, but Historic Rally Festival is very definitely finding its feet, and in the words of Louise Aitken-Walker, 1990 Ladies World Rally Champion, this is gonna be big. This time, no stopping in the stage to deliver birthday cakes for Warner. He's fully focused on keeping that Celica GT4 on the gravel. And there's the ex-Francois Delacour Sierra Sapphire Cosworth. Amazing how close the wheels are on those big Monty speed lines. Oh, they're actually Oz wheels, aren't they, on that? Anthony Hitchens, by the way, inside that Toyota Celica GT4 with Warren Lewis. Yeah, amazing how close the wheels are to the arches on that Sierra Sapphire. The arches rolled to accommodate, and only just accommodate that. Dan Elmore, Ian Duncan through in the Autopass 6R4 that I have just been out in on the last layout of the stage. You'll notice Dan taking it very steady on the gravel. The car is on tarmac tyres, and it was mighty slippery on the gravel section, even just driving to the start of the stage. He told me he was going to take it very steady on the gravel. He didn't want to be rearranging any body panels on that Metro 6R4 today. I don't blame him, but believe me, he was throwing that thing around, and he will be doing again on the gravel section of this stage after the, on the tarmac section of the stage. And who knows, on the second running of this, he might just have found his feet on the gravel, but gravel not where Dan feels most comfortable, but he's been enjoying himself in that 6R4, and it is a riot. It's completely wild. That was Don Booth, by the way, in the Group B A2 replica Audi Quattro that went from Weston Park last night and drove to KFC drive-through for some chicken and to fill the car up, and he thought while he was at it, he'd fill himself up as well in the rally car. Mike Smith, Dave Ainsham have been pedalling nicely this weekend in that Evo 7. Hello to you if you're watching from home or if you're watching by the side of the stage here at Weston Park. There's Mick Coville, the man who famously built a Lancia Delta S4 replica Group B rally car in his garage, and now rallies that Fiat Ritmo Alitalia car on this and on many European demo events as well. Very passionate about the power of these types of events and how they can showcase our sport to a wider audience. And if that's what we do this weekend, then it was a weekend well spent, wasn't it? It's Adam Marsden and Gary Johnston, is it? Or no, it's not, is it? It's the first of our, it's not, it's Adam Trainer. Tanya Short, sorry about that, in the Group 4 Audi Quattro. Like the little matchbox cars that we all had. That Works Audi Sport Colour Scheme. There's Robin Hamilton. Vanessa Hamilton alongside the original Works car, previously rallied by Tony Teasdale. Started life in New Zealand. It competed on the RAC Rally in 1986. Of course, the year before was the year for the Retro 6R4 when it came third in the hands of Tony Pond on the RAC. In only his first outing, he was leading overnight, but then succumbed to the power and brute force of the Delta S4s. And talking of power and brute force, there's the man who bookended that Delta S4 victory, winning in 1983 in the Audi Quattro on the RAC, and indeed winning this stage here at Weston Park. Stig Blomqvist in an A2 Audi Quattro, not dissimilar to that Hansport car, lovingly prepared by John Hanlon and his team. Who John in the co-driver's seat this weekend with the 1984 World Rally Champion. There's Nigel Mummery in one of, I understand, a few RS200s that he has. Robbie Sanford alongside. Those cars were formidable. They never got a chance to really stretch their legs. Do you know, it's 20 years since Mark Lovell died. He won the BRC in 1986 in an RS200. 20 years. Son of a Ford dealer, he started in an Escort RS Turbo, an unusual car to start rallying in. That's what Mark Lovell did. 450 brake horsepower at 8,000 RPM, those RS200s in that special Cosworth developed engine. And there's Neil Brighton, a man whose passion I love and whose engineering skills I deeply admire. He built that Renault 5 Maxi Turbo in his garage. He's also built a Peugeot 206 World Rally car, as you do. There's Adam Marsden and Gary Johnston, that 5-cylinder Audi engine there. The aluminium in A1 standing for aluminium. Specially developed alloy version of that famous 5-cylinder engine shaved 44 pounds off the weight, but it wasn't enough because of the engine displacement in that car. It was in the over 3-litre class, and the A2 was required, shall we say, with lower engine displacement to really get the car into the 2.5 litre to 3 litre class and shave off even more weight by putting on some lightweight Kevlar panels. And bringing things right up to date there. In the Subaru N10 Group N rally car, built by ProDrive, that's Graham Sturrock. Connor Sturrock alongside for a bounce around this Weston Park stage this weekend. David Bonning has really been entertaining people. I know you guys have absolutely loved that. Tom Irvin's favourite car this weekend, that Repsol liveried Escort Cosworth in its WRC guys, Alex Young alongside Carlos Sainz, of course, after runner-up in the 95 World Rally Championship for Toyota, found himself without a drive in 96 when Toyota were banned thanks to their turbo restrictor controversy, and he found himself at Ford. The Escort Cosworth's last victory was in 94, so it had fallen behind Mitsubishi and Subaru, and Carlos was one of the men tasked with getting Ford back on the front line with the Escort. And when the World Rally car came out, Ford were back. Not quite back enough, the history books perhaps show. Dave Kedward, Tony Hart in the 205 T16, a car which last night, inside that rear clam, was lit up orange with the glowing turbo, looking like something from a metal forger's incredible to see that car out, and Dave so welcoming and friendly and happy to show people around it. Wonderful to see, and to be honest, that is the whole point of these events. That is the spirit in which we have these cars out on these stages. And there's Mick Stratford and Ian Houston in the Chevrolet Vauxhall Forenza Can-Am rally car. Jimmy McRae and Stig Blomqvist have both driven that car. They've driven it very loud, they've driven it very sideways and very fast, and it has been a fan favourite this weekend. Craig Pennington and another of the fan favourite cars. If you've never seen a Porsche 997 covered in rally stage mud, there you go, there's a treat for you. And there is the Audi S1 Quattro, the Group B car that followed the A2 and really took Audi to the next level. It was needed when those Delta S4s came in and Lancia replaced the 037 with, frankly, a nuclear bomb of a car. An absolutely ballistic weapon of a rally car, the S4. That S1 Audi, the short wheelbase Sport Quattro, was the answer. And that led to the E2, which is the evolution of the S1 with the big wings, which we don't have an example of this weekend, but has featured here at the Historic Rally Festival and will feature again. If you are watching this, if you're looking at any of the content coming out from Weston Park this weekend and you're wondering whether or not you should bring your iconic rally car, be it Group N, Group A, Group B, X-Works, replica, whatever it is, and you're wondering whether you should bring it out next year, if you haven't got your answer by now, well, there's very little more else we can do to convince you, I think. It's exactly where I would be bringing mine. That is for certain. Simon Powell, Yvonne Powell in the Opel Manta 400, which was built in the late 80s by Jerry Johnson, the ex-dealer team Vauxhall team manager. It was built to full 400 spec. The slant 2.3 engine, more recently fitted with a Phase 3 engine and works gearbox, making it a very special and faithful spec car as well. It's done a fair amount of demo events. They started doing that in 2018 with the car. And do you know what? Some of you might think, if you're out in the car, why not compete? But then there are other people who will squirrel away rally cars in private collections and we never get to see them, let alone hear them fired up and see them sideways, covered in mud, fire, breathing from the exhausts. And if this format gets as popular as it is in Europe, wow, then you and I are both in for some treat in the next few years as we see this Historic Rally Festival grow. Young James, 19 years old, handed the keys to that Mexico for the first time for this weekend and told, go and have some fun, but look after it. Well, he's done both of those things. Adam Proughton in the Astra GSI that caught Louise Aitken Walker's imagination earlier, reminded her of the late great Dave Metcalf with that colour scheme on that Mark III Astra. And a reminder for me of why rallying was so important. Because of the Mark III Astra out in rallying, my mum ended up buying a Mark III Astra road car. And I remember being dead proud of that car. It was an Astra Duo, it was a special edition. I can still remember the two little coloured S-shaped lines on the little badge on the side moulding on the door. It was a really cool car. It was in bright red. And for me, it was a rally car. Richard Barrow, Courtney Barrow there in their Group N Subaru Impreza. A couple of cars left in this 9th stage of the day where they're going to change locations. And there's a bit of a meet and greet happening in between times, so we won't be live, I don't think, for that. Never rule it out. There's Stuart McLaren and Harriet Worth. They were really throwing that cadet around, and so they still are. A bit of a practice for the Roger Albert Clark rally he'll be doing next month, the end of November. A monster route announced and some monster competitors as well. Oliver Solberg on the entry list, Chris Meek on the entry list, Chris Ingram rumoured to be fast approaching an entry in an Appleby TR7 V8. That's not a scoop, that's just a rumour, so don't quote me on that. It's something I've heard a few times. You never know, do you? If you do fancy doing the Roger Albert Clark, Stuart is in need of a co-driver at short notice, so do drop him a line on social media to work something out if you fancy it. Kev Davis says a 6R4 on full chat, superb, and there is Anu Mikula, Roger Clark, and Jean-Pierre Beards. Works Mark 1 Escort, a car which has done the 1,000 Lakes, has done the Monty, it's done the RAC. It's a very, very famous car. And it deserves to be out here on a stage that featured on the Lombard RAC rally for many years and was the scene of a championship deciding battle in some respects. Great to see it out. Matthew Atkinson says it's a privilege to hear these Group B monsters echoing around the trees in the forest. You know what? Yes. Completely agree. It is a privilege. I feel very privileged to be able to tell you this story and to bring you this live action with special stage. And the one thing I can't bring you is the smell. You can hear the sound. I can't bring you the smell. Hopefully you can see a little bit of the atmosphere and feel that through the screen. That's eminently possible. 86 Mad Hatter says big respect to the owners who don't mind getting some of these cars dirty while the others sit behind rope. Completely agree. As you see the Super 1600 Corsa threading its way through this 9th stage of the historic Rally Festival. We are missing the Escort Cosworth of Mark McClelland. We're also missing Chris Butcher's Nissan Sunny Formula 2 rally car. What else are we missing? We never got the Nissan 240 RS of Charlie Gabb. Mark Casey, did we? Because that, in the end, Charlie, for health reasons, not able to do the event, but we hope to see that back out on these stages sometime soon. And there is Dick Major in the ex-Elvin Evans D-Mac Fiesta R5, a demonstration of M Sport's most successful rally car yet. 250 of those cars competing worldwide, and the first time that that particular car has been on UK soil. And that concludes things for Stage 9 here at Weston Park. Do stay with us, we'll have live action from 2 more stages today here at the historic Rally Festival. And I just hope you at home or wherever you're watching from are enjoying this as much as we are. Thanks for tuning in.